Alright guys, intro to SolidWorks here. I'm just going to be recapping some of the stuff that we've covered so far, some of the stuff we've talked about in class. And so let's just jump right into it. I'm going to go here and just create a new file. I'm just going to create a part file for right now. So I'm going to start by creating a new plane. I have my top plane here. I'm going to hold down Control and I'm going to just drag up a new top plane. I'm going to set the offset of that plane to about 2 inches. And then I'm going to hit the green checkbox. I'm going to start up a sketch on that new plane by just doing a right click and going to sketch. And then I'm going to open up a rectangular sketch on that plane, just about like that. And then I'll create a planar surface using that sketch. So go to the planar surface tool under the surfaces tab and hit the green checkbox. I'm going to flick over here to our perspective view and zoom in a little bit. And then I'm going to go here to freeform and I'm going to select the plane that I just created there. And I'm going to turn on symmetry between the direction number 1 so that the left and right sides are affected in the same way. I'm going to adjust the continuity between those two edges to movable. And then I'm going to adjust the continuity between the front and back to movable as well. There we go. Now that I've done that, I have the option to click here on this edge while I have the freeform tool open, and then I can create a nice fluid fun shape using these kind of arrows here. So let's do that. Very good. And I'm just going to click here, excuse me, let me get that edge again, and we're going to create something very good like that. Okay, so now I've created this nice sort of arced form here, and what I want to do is I want to bend the edges down so I get a little bit more of a pillowed shape. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to do that. One would be to click on the front edge like this and to just bend these edges down a little bit and click on the back edge like that. I notice right away, because I don't see the green arrows, that I have forgotten to update the continuity of this edge from contact to movable. So when I change it to movable, I get those green arrows again. If you don't see your green arrows, that's probably what your problem is. There we go. So it's working a little bit. There we go. I can always drag these things in and then just kind of bloat out the top arc here by pulling these arrows in and pulling them up. That's all good. There we go. But what if I want to make a little bit of a spine here in the middle? Let me show you guys something else that I haven't covered so far. Over here in the property manager of the freeform tool, there is this control curves section here, and there's a button called add curves. If you click on add curves and then hover over your model, you'll see a little green line following your cursor anywhere you hover over the model. Now this is what in Rhino or Alias is called an isoparm. It's like a contour line. This cross-hatched contour lines that you see going over your deformed surface, those are called isoparms, and you can add them at will. Everywhere that you add one is like a little control crease or something like that. It's a little bit hard to explain until you get in there and add some extra ones and play around with it, but wherever you'd like to create a freeform into your shape, add a couple extra isoparms and it adds a little bit more body to your piece. So I'm just going to add one now because I have symmetry turned on. You see it adds one to either side of the surface, excuse me, and I can add as many as I want at any time. But if I hit the escape button, it'll drop that tool, and then when I hover back over the isoparm I just added, it turns orange and allows me to edit it when I click on it. So as you can see again, I'll get those little arrows again, and from this point on I can just pull these puppies in and I can add a nice little spine or a ridge to this thing and really get a lot more control of that top arc there, a lot more than I was getting from these side edges here. So I'm going to go ahead and just click off of that, and maybe I'll add a couple more curves as well. Maybe I'll just add one there, and I'll throw one in right in the center right there. I'll hit escape, and I can click on any one of these three now. So if I click on that one, I can add a nice little ridge to the top of that. There we go. And then if I click on this one again, I can dip that down a little bit there, and then I can get a nice fun little shape in there just like that. So I'm going to green checkbox that, and then I'm just going to admire my work for a second and kind of look at it from all angles, and I'm pretty happy with that. So get in there definitely and add a couple of extra control curves, and that should help you get a little bit more fun of a shape. So there we go. And next thing that I would like to do is I would like to trim this to a top profile that I like a little bit more. And so let me get in there and do that. I'm going to just go here. I'm probably going to create my top profile sketch on the top plane, as I would. And so let me just get in there and I'll look normal to the top plane. I will open up a sketch on the top plane, and just for demonstration purposes I will open up a just an oval. I'm just going to do an oval, something simple. I'll add some smart dimensions to adjust the length and width. So right now it's 3.8. Let's just make that 5. And then let's just drop the width to something like 3.25. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the exit sketch button. In fact, maybe I'll just edit that sketch again, and then I'll just take off this. I have this coincident relationship that's holding the center of my oval to the origin. I just want to get rid of that, and then that'll give me the option to drag this thing over, because I really want to be able to capture kind of all of this love that I just added right there to the middle. So stay in line with my origin, but there we go, just like that. Okay, good. All right, now I'm going to exit that sketch. All right, good. Now we've got a couple of things to talk about here. So I want to trim this surface. Now the way to trim a solid form would be to make an extruded cut, excuse me, hit an extruded cut off of this curve. But since we're dealing with surfaces now, we don't really have that option. The way to do it is to intersect another surface up into this one and then intersect the two away from each other. So let's do that. I'm going to go here to extruded surface inside of the surfaces tab. I'm going to go extruded surface. I'm going to click on this sketch, and you can see it gives me this little mini extrusion right there. Now I want to extend this surface all the way up until it hits this top surface, but no further. So I'll go here to direction 1, and I'm going to go up to surface, and then I'm going to have to click on the surface that I want to extrude this up to, and in this case it's that one. And so there we go. We see that it has extruded directly up to the surface that I want. So there we go, and it stops just there. So I'm going to hit the green checkbox and be happy with that. Now let's say that I've changed my mind. I'm thinking, well, this sort of stovepipe here is a little bit too big. I want to change the place that this thing starts from. Well, I can always do that. I can just go back to extruded surface cut here. Sorry. Surface extrude. I can go edit feature, and where it says from right here, right now I have it starting from the sketch plane, and that's fine, but I actually want it to start from another plane, which is going to be the new plane that I created, plane 1. So I'm going to change from sketch plane to surface face plane, and then I'll just click on that other plane, and then as you can see, I'll zoom in for you. It now starts that extrusion from the new plane that we had created, so it creates a lot more cool form. I'll go ahead and green checkbox like that, and there you can see the new sort of the difference that it makes. Okay, good. Next thing to do is to take these two surfaces and intersect them together, and in order to do that, we will go here, we'll go here to trim surface. Trim surface has two different features inside of it. One is standard and one is mutual. Now, if I was going to just trim this top surface with a single line or something like that, where there would be only one trim tool, well, that's where I would use the standard feature. But in this case, we have two surfaces, and we'd like to trim them together using each other as the trim tool. So we're going to click on mutual, not on standard. See the difference? When you're on standard, you have the option to pick a trim tool, and then when you're on mutual, it just says, please select all the surfaces you want. As you can see, it's already added in one of them, which is the lower one there, and I want to add in just one more, which is this one, the freeform. Now that those are both selected, let's just make sure that everything's selected. Okay, good. Make sure everything's blue. Don't forget to spin around your model. When you guys are doing surface modeling, whether it's in Solidworks or in Rhino, you're going to constantly be spinning around your model, checking it from all angles, and just keeping your bearings, because it's important to be able to fly around your model and look at the thing from all different angles. Okay? All right. So Next thing I'm going to do is I have to just select the regions that I want to get rid of. So obviously I want to keep this interior body, and then I want to keep this top piece, but I want to get rid of this little flanged edge right there. So let me do that. So make sure it's on Remove Selections. Click here in this box right here. Whatever area you hover over that you want to get rid of, just click on it and then hit the green checkbox. It disappears. And there you go. Okay. So the next thing that we've got to do, as you can see, we don't have a solid form yet. We've just got these two surfaces that are trimmed together. And so I want to fill that in, and I want to close up these surfaces. And so right now I've got the option to do that. I'll stay zoomed in just to help you guys see what I'm doing. All right, so we want to create a planar surface that's going to cover this entire open area here. Okay, so one thing to do is to go onto to the very edge of the open area, do a right click, and where it says here, select open loop, just click on that button there. And that's just a super specific way of telling SolidWorks that you'd like to fill that whole area there. Then after you do that, you go to planar surface and you go here, hit the green checkbox and take a look at it, and you can see that you've now closed up that that bottom open area with a new plane. Sorry, with a new surface. Let's just actually get rid of this plane here because it's getting in my way and confusing me as I did talk to you about this. So, okay, we have this thing here, but it's still hollow, right? As we talked about before, this is not a solid thing. It's just made up of surfaces. So given that it's hollow, we have a bunch of features that are grayed out. We also are unable to 3D print this thing. We need to solidify this part and create a solid form out of it. We have a bunch of different options to do that. One would be add a wall thickness. Another would be to knit all these surfaces together and then thicken them. Let's do one of those couple things now, okay? So I'm going to go back here to my surfacing tab, and the first thing I want to do is take all of these surfaces and just knit them together. So I'm going to hit on Knit Surface, and then with this Selections box checked, I'm just going to draw a giant box over everything. You can see it's going to add in all of the different surfaces that I have there. And then I'm going to keep my eye out for this button here that says Try to Form Solid. I'm going to make sure that that is checked. Okay. And then I'm going to go here and hit the green checkbox. And I'm going to cross my fingers that it worked. Okay, Surface Knit 1 is there. All these surfaces are knitted together. All right, let's check it again. Now what we have is we've created an actual solid from those surfaces. So voila. So this is what they call creating a watertight model, knitting your surfaces together. In Alias, they call it stitching a model together. And in Rhino, they call it something else, which you'll find out about in the second semester or the second section of your class. Okay, anyway, let's just exit out of that, and we're going to be happy with this. Now at this point, we have a solid form, and we can get in here, and now if we go back to our Features tab, we can bust out a shell. We can go in here. I'm going to set this shell to something appropriate. We're going to do a show preview to just make sure it's going to work. I'm going to actually set it to be a 3mm shell. Using my preview feature, I can see down here in this little edge right here, the shell's pretty close. It's pretty close. Right here is starting to get a little ugly looking. Maybe if we just do a 2mm shell, it gives us a little bit more body right in that little edge where this top thing dives down. We don't want to have like a breaking point or anything. So hit the green checkbox, flip this guy over, and we can see we've got our shell just like that. Okay. All right. So anyway, this is a good example of creating a super organic form using surfaces, and then how to create a shelled out solid from surfaces. Okay. Now at this point, because we have a solid and we have a wall thickness, we can just check it there like that. We can add all of our fun features that we've learned about so far. We can go here and create a nice little fillet just like that. There we go. Green checkbox. It's looking good. And we're done for a second. Next thing I'm going to do is talk to you guys about how to add logos and stuff into your parts. We're going to do some embossed and debossed logos by exporting DXF files, something we covered in class from Illustrator. And so tune into the next one. But go ahead and see if you can make yourself something like this, and keep at it. If you run into trouble, this is definitely some more of a little bit more advanced features as far as what SolidWorks is known for and what it's good at. So keep your head up and keep plugging away. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.